Hello, folks. It's me again. This is kind of a little follow-up to my first video that I ever made that I put up a few days ago. It's actually got like 20 views now, 2 likes. I went from 0 subscribers to 2 subscribers. At least one's probably my immediate family, if we're being truthful. But anyway, that is actually more than I expected. So it gives me a little encouragement to kind of keep this up. So I thought I'd do a little follow-up and do a little clarification here on some things I said in the first video. And I think I'll entitle this, oh, and by the way, I'm new to this, if you haven't figured that out yet. I just now figured out that you better put your phone on airplane mode or something, you know, if you want to try to make a video, because if not, somebody's going to text you or call you every few minutes. It's going to interrupt the video, and I don't know how to splice videos. It's got to be done in one take. Anyway, I learned that. Learned something new today. But I think I'll title this one Motorhead and Casting Out Demons. Now you may ask yourself, what does the heavy metal band Motorhead have to do with casting out demons? Well, I'm glad you asked. Part of this has to do with something I said I wanted to clarify a little bit. I said in the first video when I was talking about casting out demons that I believe that true believers have that ability because it says so in the Bible, along with other things like healing. But I kind of made a poor word choice there, because if I were trying to cast out a demon, can I cast out a demon? No. Can you cast out a demon? No. Can the most experienced exorcist that the Catholic Church has on the planet Earth cast out a demon? No. The only thing that's going to cast out a demon or an unclean spirit is Christ. Jesus has that authority. And you have to be careful to make that distinction, because I'm not the one doing it. I'm a human being. If I'm not right with God, if I'm not right with Jesus, if I don't have, Jesus backing me up, working through me, I can't cast out squat. Nobody can. If I were to walk in there and someone was actually possessed, and I walked in there and gave it a real stern look and said, I hereby cast you out, unclean spirit, it's going to laugh at me. It's going to say, who are you? I don't even know who you are. By what authority are you trying to make me leave this body, this vessel? That's why stuff you see in the movies, is Hollywood. It's TV, You would have to say something more along the lines of, by the power of Christ, you are commanded to leave this vessel immediately. Something like that. Not because I said so, because the demon, the unclean spirit, doesn't give 2 squats about me. It would be through Jesus. Jesus has that ability. Jesus has that power. Jesus has that authority. And that kind of ties into something one of my closest friends, like a brother to me, asked me one day. And wouldn't you know it, me being as dumb as a rock, he actually asked the one thing that I kind of had an answer for. Lucky him, it was his lucky day. And he'd been reading the part of the Bible where, somebody, and I can't quote exact, passages and where they're at, unless I've got a Bible sitting right in front of me. But anyway, Jesus was talking, and he said, there's going to be people that come in front of me for judgment. And he will say, basically, okay, why should I let you into the kingdom of heaven, into God's kingdom? And the reply will be, well, I cast out many demons in your name. I healed many sick people in your name. I did miracles in your name. And Jesus says he'll look at them and say, hit the door. I don't know you. Now, my friend was understandably quite perplexed by this. He's like, man, this doesn't seem right. These dudes here look like they're doing good, and Jesus telling them to hit the road, Jack. But it was in the way that they presented it. When you bring I into the conversation, you've already took a wrong turn. Now, had those people come, or that person or whoever it was answered, well, through me, you have cast out many unclean spirits. Through me, by your power, you have healed the sick. Through me, by your grace, we've fed the poor, sheltered the homeless. I think they would have got a different answer. I don't think they would have been shown to the door. Because you got to understand that we as mortals, by ourselves and all alone, we're pretty weak. We're not going to be able to cast anything out. We're not going to be able to heal anybody. We don't do that. We allow that to happen through us, with Jesus using us as conduits, as vessels, as tools. That happens. We didn't do it. Jesus did it. We just happened to be there. We just happened to be the tool he happened to use. It's like a gun. I can see a gun on the table. The gun's not going to shoot anybody. The gun's totally incapable of shooting anybody. It takes somebody picking it up, cocking a hammer and squeezing the trigger to shoot somebody. Kind of the same concept, In other words, you got to remember where the credit lies and where the credit's due. Which brings us into Motorhead. Now, back in the day when I was still sowing some wild oats, I used to like Motorhead. I think their most famous song was probably Ace of Spades. But they had this song called, the name of the song was God Was Never on Your Side. And Lemmy, you know, the front man, the bassist, the vocalist for the band Motorhead, you know, was, you know, notoriously anti-religious. He pretty much blamed all the wrongs in the world that ever happened on religion, not really just Christianity, but any type of religion. He was an atheist by most reports. Some say he was agnostic, but pretty much if you listen to his song, you know, and in that song, you know, it's probably not something you'd want to open up a church service with, okay? Because the lyrics talk about, you know, if the world were to end today, no big deal, there's no God, there's no heaven above, there's no devil down below, blah, 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 you've been lied to, blah, 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 blah. So probably not something that your average Christian would, you know, really want to be listening to on a daily basis, or really much at all. But it's the title of the song I want to talk about. God was never on your side. And you know what? I totally agree with that. I totally agree with that statement. Because when you think about it, if you're saying God's on my side, what are you saying? You're basically saying that you're the one in control. You're leading the army, you're leading the team, whatever, you know. But I got God back here and he's got my back. He's on my side. No. Why would you want that? Why would I want to be in charge of something when God's here? I would much rather be on God's side than God be on my side. Because I'm a dumb as a rock human. You know, I can't make it through the day without making 50 mistakes, you know. And I think I'm going to be the one, you know, leading the whole charge here. But God's on my side, so, you know, we've got it. Don't worry. No. You need to be on God's side. And so I just want to make that little clarification and use that little comparison there to maybe make you think a little bit. Dead bug laying there on my table. Just remember, you know, throughout your day, who's really in control and who the glory and the credit goes to. I mean, I made the same mistakes even since I've been back in the fold and grown close to Christ again. I built a deck on the back of my house. And I basically did do it by myself. I had a little bit of help with the 6x6 posts, you know, that I put in the ground to hold it up. Those were too heavy for me to sit in there by myself, so I had the neighbor come help me. But after that, and I had a little help doing the basic framework, and after that, I built the whole thing by myself. And people come to ask me and said, "Oh, it's a pretty nice deck, you know. Who built it?" I did. But did I? I mean, yeah, it was my hands that actually did the physical work. But only through the grace of God was I able to do that. I'm no carpenter, believe me. I worked for the phone company. You know, when I first started trying to build decks and porches and stuff, you know, I could barely hammer two boards together. but I was able to accomplish it. And I can't take all that credit. A lot of that credit goes to the big guy upstairs. And think about things that you do in your life. We're humans. We're fallible. We tend to be prideful, even when we don't want to be. I mean, it's just kind of an unconscious thing, you know. Who did that? Oh, I did that. You kind of need to stop thinking in those terms, you know, because without faith, without God, without Christ, about the only thing that we humans can do really well is sin. We've got that one down pat. We don't even need a lot of help from the devil, demons, unclean spirits, any other kind of malicious spirits. We really don't. Which is not to say that they don't try to help us along. But, I mean, look at our track record. Sit down and read your Bible from cover to cover. Look how many times, in the Old Testament, the Jewish people, the Israelites, look how many times God had to spank them. When Moses led the people out of Egypt, when the people had seen the Red Sea part, when they'd seen manna fall from heaven, when they'd seen all these miracles and stuff, still when push came to shove and God told them to go into this land and take it over, they wouldn't do it. They balked up. They said, no, there's giants in that land. We're not going over there. No, we're not doing it. So God put them in the wilderness for 40 years to wander around. He said, if this generation's too weak to do it, maybe the next one, will do what I tell them to do. Anyways, I appreciate you watching. I am really surprised. I mean, compared to other people on YouTube, this is nothing. This is a drop in the bucket. But it's not quite me just sitting and talking to myself. I know if 20 people have looked at this, not all of them are friends and family, There has to be a few people, that I'm not related to or actually know in real life that's actually took the time to sit and watch the video. And I'm thankful for that. And here comes the part that really uncomfortable, the part that all the YouTubers do, that you kind of tune out, because it is what it is. But, if you wouldn't mind, like the video, subscribe. I'm not making any money off of it. This channel's not monetized. You're not seeing any ads. You shouldn't be seeing any ads. I'm not trying to make anything off of it. So, you see these people, they've already got 500,000 subscribers, and they're like, oh, if you like this, if you got anything out of it, smash that like button, subscribe, share it with your friends, They're making money off of you. I'm not making a dime. I just like to get on here and say my piece. And I would encourage people to comment. If I said something that made you think, or if I said something that really ticked you off. Don't get me wrong, I don't want to turn this into an MMA fight channel, I'm not looking to argue with everybody, but thoughtful debate is always welcome. I'm a big boy. If you want to criticize me over something or point out something that you think that I said that you don't quite agree with or maybe didn't really understand, comment on it. I'll answer, or I'll maybe make a whole nother video explaining my position on it. But anyway, guys, thanks for giving me a little bit of a boost here, a little bit of a presence. Hopefully I'll get a little more. Not because I want to be famous. Not because I necessarily want to sell more books. I'd like to get the books out. You know, especially Pastor. You know, my newest book. I would love to you know, get people reading that. If you do read it, give it a review. Don't just hit the 4 or 5 star thing or the 3-star thing. I mean, actually write on there what if you didn't like it, if there was something that bothered you about it that you didn't like, and you're going to give me a 3-star rating, you know, take 2 minutes and leave a review and tell me why. Otherwise, I don't know why. I don't know what you didn't like about it. Or even if you give me a 5-star review, take 2 minutes to type in a few words. Because authors depend on feedback. You know, I've got some feedback from people that I know that have read the book. And a few reviews from people that I don't know that have read the book. And I appreciate that. Because, you know, you can write in a vacuum, but it's really not doing you much good. Especially when you've got a message in your heart that you're trying to get across. And, you know, if people just give you a rating and not leave a review, you don't know what they liked about it. You don't know what they didn't like about it. You don't know what you could have done better. So, yeah, I mean, comment. Leave reviews. Engage. You're not going to hurt my feelings. I promise you. I'm 62 years old. You know, you're not going to hurt my feelings. There's 10 people living in my house. You know, what with me and my wife, 2 girls and 6 grandkids living in my house. And I love every one of them to death. Wouldn't trade them for nothing. But I promise you, I'm not the type to take something, to take criticism to heart and block you because you say, well, I really don't know about this, what you said, you know, I really don't know. I kind of think this way, you know. That's great. Let's talk about it. Maybe I'm wrong. I'm not saying I'm right about everything. I've been wrong a lot more in this life than I have been right. But anyway, thanks for watching. Appreciate it. Like I said, maybe give it a like. Maybe subscribe to the channel. So that way it'll pop up and you'll be able to see when I decide to put my next rant on or whatever it may be. Anyway, y'all have a blessed day. God bless each and every one of you. We'll talk to you later.